Mandy with Emmy.
And I have Eli. And today we're going to talk about, it's kind of a slant on dating. It's if you can't do something for 50 years, don't start it while you're dating. It's my theory. I've dated off and on for quite a few years since I got a divorce. And what I've always found is that, and I'm sure it's men and women both, but you're on your best behavior for the first certain amount of time. And I always joke and say 6 months. But it could be a year, it could be a couple years. But, you agree to everything that your partner is saying. I'll let you do this. We can do this. We can, everything's wonderful. But then all of a sudden, you start going back to who you really are. Mm-hmm. And so that's where my thing comes. If you can't do it for 50 years, don't start while you're dating.
Yeah, right. It makes a little bit of a difference too, I think. I mean, across the board, that's true. But in our particular situation, Chris and I, our partners have been, we're all a little bit older, and so we've been through a lot of life things at the time we met. We have a lot of history, and so you're not going to obviously know everything about the person. But I find it interesting too that it's a situation where, here's an example. I want a dog. I want to get a dog. Well, when Mike and I started dating, and I would mention this to him, it was always like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, when you're ready, that sounds like a cool idea. Well, now I'm kind of in that situation where I really want to get the dog, and all of a sudden, he suddenly isn't so eager to have one, and he's kind of making that clear. So I'm thinking the same thing, and I said to him, well, that's kind of not what you sounded like the first couple years we dated, So I think part of it might just be getting comfortable with each other enough to where you are more yourself, mm-hmm. and we do change. I mean,
yeah, but specifically, if you're not yourself, if you're not able to relax and be yourself in a relationship, it's going to show up later.
Yes,
and I said I really believe that causes a lot of divorces too. Because a man or a woman, you get into the relationship and you think you know somebody.
Yeah. And
a few years later, all of a sudden you're looking at your partner and you're going, where is the person that I fell in love with?
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden they're kicking back. They don't want to do anything. They don't want to, it's just, you just question whether they are the same person, or you said like people change. So where is that where everybody's grows up?
Right.
Or they were not themselves before. It's hard to identify that.
Right. My sister always used to say, it takes at least 1 year to really know someone. And her theory was, her philosophy was, if you're dating someone by about a year, at least a year, and no sooner, you by then you'll pretty much know if there's any red flags or, something that's going to jump out of the woodwork or something. It would happen by that time. I mean, that's no guarantee.
No, it's no guarantee. And you're right, though. I mean, more is going to show up the more time you give it.
Right.
But, the thing is now is with that internet dating and stuff, that makes it a lot harder, too, because until, I hate to say, until you live with somebody, you don't really know them.
No. But I think there's an advantage, too, when you're older. Mike and I we were both at a point where we are who we are, and like it or love it. I mean, if we both had our eyes wide open, getting into our relationship, and honestly, I think that's the first time in my life I can say that, and it's really refreshing because we still have issues and all the things that you do in relationships, but there's not that pretense, or you try so hard to be on your best behavior when you're first getting to know each other that you're holding back all of these types of things. We were pretty much open, and this is
being older, that helps a lot.
It does. But there's still some things that like I said, the dog situation. Really? Why was that okay the first couple years, and all of a sudden, it's not the same. But I probably have maybe said things too when we were dating that, he could maybe throw back at me now. Well, I thought you always wanted to do this, or I thought you didn't like to do that. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I say is, like, if you're going to bring flowers, if you can't do it for 50 years, don't start just because we're dating. Well, that's just one. But now, this leads me to a whole nother, well, it's not really another topic, but these young people that are dating, that are meeting people online.
Yeah.
I know someone right now that met someone online, and she says they're dating, and I said, he lives in Colorado and she's in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
I said, if he hasn't come to the door and picked you up and taken you on a date, you can't really be dating.
Yeah.
Well, they say that they're in a relationship. They're exclusive. They're not going to date anybody else. And I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, because I really don't believe you can get to know somebody that way. But maybe you can. Maybe it's better than, think about the old-fashioned way we used to meet people in the bar.
Right.
Might be better than doing it that way.
The one plus I could see is if you've ever been in a relationship with someone who you shouldn't have been in a relationship with, a big advantage there would be they're 6 months into it,
Mm-hmm.
where they haven't actually met, and that might be a good thing. I mean,
because then they don't have the conflicting or the things pulling them in different directions,
Mm-hmm.
like you want to kiss somebody and all this stuff. Well,
Mm-hmm.
you have to talk to each other, because that's the only way to communicate is when you're online. So maybe they do get to know more about each other that way. But then you have to go through the whole. If you do ever get together and move in together, you're going to have a lot to learn about actually being together.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuances and things that when you're actually with someone, socializing and doing things together, that you pick up on that you wouldn't just by writing back and forth, emailing. But
So I don't know. So anyway, so it still leads to, if you can't do it for 50 years, then don't start it. So, but I do think that does lead to a lot of disappointment in relationships, and so if you're aware of it before you go into a relationship and just think, I'm going to be myself.
Right.
You really have what age you are.
That's one thing that I've learned. It took me many, many years to learn it, but you have to be yourself and be true to yourself, because you are who you are, and you might, you can reinvent yourself, you can grow and stuff. That's all good, but you don't want to come across as someone you're not.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to pretend the rest of your life? That would be.
No, you have to be. You have to be yourself, and that's the big thing. I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're 16 or if you're 116.
And when you do that, and you find someone that you click with, then it's awesome. It really is, because like I said, you have your issues, but still, you have that solid foundation. You know each other. You fell in love with the person who they pretty much are.
You aren't going to look at them 6 months later and say,
yeah, have you ever, as you said
Yeah.
before, I mean, who hasn't been there and done that, where you sit there across the room and all of a sudden you're just looking at them going, who is that person, and why am I sitting here with this person?
Yeah.
And they've probably thought the same thing,
Yeah, because it can hold true for men or women.
Mm-hmm. So,
anyway, I think we're out of time again.
mm-hmm. And that happens all the time, but thank you for joining us. And remember,
Life should be an incredible buzz.